page. We could be on my personal page. We could be on the Warwick's page. I'm not sure what page we're on. So
I don't want to be on your personal page.
I
I've seen your followers.
my 2 followers.
Shame.
Gabe, you're one of them. So
That's why I know.
well, hopefully that we're on the right page. I'll go out and look later because I'm the tech person today. So if I'm lagging, blame me. Don't blame Amanda. She's not in the background. But we were just talking before we came on live. Am I on the right page, Gabe? I'm on Warwick's page.
We're on.
Perfect. Awesome. I have my tech person looking out for me.
Wow, Gabe, also the tech person.
Man.
Gabe can multitask. But Gabe, so we were talking about Barbara Kingsolver, who came to San Diego last week. That was so exciting. She was everything you wanted her to be in just this. She's just wonderful. She's just, if you ever have an opportunity to see her live, take it. She got stuck in some of our horrible, we have bad traffic on good days, but this was exceedingly bad. She left LA a little before 3. She didn't get to the venue till after 8. So the woman spent 5 hours in the car to get to us because of a tanker that overturned southbound on 805. Bounced out of the car, was like, let's go. There's water on stage, great. If I have to take a break in between to use the bathroom. She just was like literally bound out of the car and jumped on stage.
That's incredible.
And right down the hallway.
Yeah, she just headed right down the hallway, right in the stage, and Seth Combs, I don't know if Seth watches this either, but Seth Combs with the UT did a spot on, fantastic interview with her. It was just a great night. It was just a great night. She was on stage for about an hour, a little over an hour chatting. So anyways.
It's one of those things that remind you of why you do this, right, Julie?
Honestly. And like Gabe said, though, so I held it all together. Like when I got the text from her at like 6:15 that said, looks like I'm stuck in some traffic. It'll be 2.5 hours before I'm there. And it was like, okay, it's supposed to start in 45 minutes. So that's a little bit of a problem. So I was cool until like the very end when I was going out to meet her, and Dave and Deborah were out on the sidewalk with me. And so we did the little pin, like, you could drop your location. So I had dropped my location so that the driver could find us. And then she had dropped hers to me so I could follow the car.
That didn't help.
It
does not help.
Didn't help. It sent me just into this, like I was totally calm up until that point, and then I was watching the way that he was bringing her in, and it was like, what are you doing?
Those weren't the exact words, but yeah.
Well, I'm on, yeah. Might have been a few little special words that I was using to show my intelligence, as they say.
Your honesty. It shows your honesty.
Oh, yeah.
I was, because it says 2.5 hours. It could be 3.5 hours. You don't know. Anything could happen a little afterwards.
Exactly.
There's a lane, there's construction. There's always construction between the camp and where we are in North County. There's always, at nighttime especially, they close a lane or two.
Right.
So I was just like, 8 o'clock would be nice. It's only an hour late.
Yeah, and we did. It was like 8:05. I think I looked at the clock at 8:05. She was on stage. So anyways, that's our Barbara. So, I hope, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long on this, but there's 3 of you, so we'll get through the recommendations. But another little fun side note for it. So we were all trying to figure out why it was canceled up in LA. Well, I'm sure you all know because you're all Taylor Swift fans. They closed the Grove that night for Taylor Swift's
for the
movie.
Grove.
Her premiere was that night.
Her premiere,
and she was there, so it's like you can't even.
And Beyonce was there also, as it turned out.
If there's such a thing as American royalty, those two would be considered royalty at this point.
The Queens of America over there.
That would have been a perfect,
With Barbara there, exactly. Barbara would have fit right in there. So then we found out that was the reason. So and Barbara was really funny about it because she's like, if I'm going to be canceled for something, I guess Taylor Swift is.
That's how big Taylor Swift is. I mean, come on. I know every move she makes. Her and Kelsey actually held hands the other day.
I know. Hey, you saw that too.
And they held hands the second time I saw. Like,
look at you two. I'm like cracking up at you.
You open up the paper, that's what you see. That's
I love, and we are totally not even talking about books right now. We'll get to that, I promise. But I love all of the Taylor Swift fans who are now into football and are finding all of these football players that are like, because now they're all about, Joey Bosa's brother. Nick, is it Nick Bosa that plays for the
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, they're all over him.
Really? I didn't know that. Oh my God.
Incredible.
Funny. It's pretty funny. Anyway,
I really love the idea though, if King's Oliver hadn't been canceled at the Grove, of like these bewildered book nerds accidentally wandering into this like Swift situation.
Wandering onto the red carpet as the
What's happening?
going through the wrong door. All of a sudden, it's Sparkle City.
Oh, would be a good time. All right. Good books I know today. I'm reading. Shannon's not here with us, but I am reading. I'll talk about it when I'm done because I'm only halfway through it. But I'm reading. We're hosting her for she was with FSG, I think, before. A.K. Blakemore. She wrote a book called The Manning Tree Witches.
Oh, that was actually Catapult.
It was a Catapult, yes.
Or yes. Counterpoint, one of the two. You're right. And her new one, she's with Scribner now. Her new one's called The Glutton. It's like perfume, but it's like Susskind met Lauren Groff in this very interesting, really gross, but I'm loving it. It's like I can't stop reading it, but it's so gross. It's called The Glutton. Well, we're hosting her for a virtual. Huh? It sounds gross. It sounds like it could be gross.
Oh,
with that title.
Yeah. The Glutton in like 1788.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're just getting to Versailles now.
When gluttony was king.
Yeah. And thanks for Anyways, so we're gonna go Julia, Tom, Gabe, and I'm doing tech. So if I look like I'm a little distracted, it's because I am. So it's not that I'm not listening. No, I'm hearing you. So Julia, take it away.
Yeah, sure. Let me share this.
There we go.
I've got this new kids book actually, but it's for adults too a little bit. This is by Bob Odenkirk of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fame. It's called Xylot and Other Important Rhymes. It's fun. It felt to me a little bit like Shel Silverstein, kind of fun poems. You can see some of the interiors here. And his daughter, Emily, did all the illustrations. So it's a family affair. It's just a fun kids book. I think it's good for kids, but I also think people who are fans of Bob Odenkirk will really like it. He's such a interesting, fun person. And so, that's my first one.
And I saw an interview with him and his daughter, and I can't remember where I saw it on. It was, I don't remember now.
There's been a few.
Okay. So I'm not sure it was either on social media where I stumbled on it or where I stumbled on it. And it's just lovely the way a delight with him and his daughter. And he wrote these poems to them when they were little, right? I'm sorry. Did you say that? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. But anyways, it seems like it's just gonna be a delightful little book. And she did all the other, it's just great. So
yeah, totally.
Everyone
so
loves
good
Bob
little
Odenkirk.
Yeah. He actually came down, this was years ago now, when we hosted John Cleese. And he was the interviewer for John Cleese for us, which was such a great event. Yeah, it was really interesting because we were searching for, and Bob reached out to John's team and was like, can I do this? Can I do this interview? So it was very cool. It was another cool night. Amazing. Okay, so Tom, for you, since you weren't with us last week,
I know, there was on the road.
You're on the road. There was lots of love for your books last week, and Kim's updating you. Richard Osman, she loved, and the Lauren Groff, The Vaster Wilds.
Excellent.
Different books, she says, but both
couldn't be more different.
Both
excellent.
But that's the fun of reading. You can say both things are great, and they're just different. All right, Tom, so what do you have for us?
So my first book is Brian Washington's Family Meal, which came out a week ago. So I love Brian Washington. He's the author of Lot and Memorial. If you've read him before, this is what he does. It's beautiful. So And Houston, all of his books are set in Houston. And I feel like I know the territory, the geography of Houston, just from reading his stories and the novel, and now the new novel. Houston is a real character. But it's a story of Cam and TJ. So they're childhood friends. Cam has left Houston, come to LA actually, and he's lost his lover. So that's Kai. But there's three characters because Kai returns as a ghost. But he is very much a part of Cam's life. And so he comes back home, back to Houston, back to the bakery that TJ's family has. And it's about their reconnection, missing connection, all those things as he struggles with, both characters are struggling with loss. But as always with Brian, food, you know that from the title. Food plays a huge role. Food is everything in his books. Well, and sex is everything in his books. So food, friendship, sex, Houston, all here. And there are, I think always in his stories and books too, in novels, there are big themes, but they're told in these intimate spaces with just between these characters. So in here you have addiction to both drugs and sex, police violence, gentrification. They're all there, but it's all told between the lines of these characters. That you just won't forget. So out last week, the New York Times says, Lost, Departures, Reunions, Ghosts, Family Meal is a novel about what it means to leave and how even when it seems we've moved on, there are some things that can never be left behind. So it's a really beautiful book. Highly recommend anything by Brian Washington, Family Meal.
He is absolutely a beautiful writer. And he does, like you said, all of these things, but they're just they're just brought to you in such a way that you don't feel like you're thinking so strongly.
Yeah. You're not, he does not hit you over the head with any of these themes, but they're all tied up in the characters. And
just beautiful language. He's
he's
fantastic. And he's just he's a good guy too.
That's right. And he was, one of the Granta 5 under 35s. He's still under 35.
I know, that's amazing.
He'll be under 35 for a few more years.
Isn't that crazy?
I know the first book was on Obama's list of, best books of the year. I just hope the accolades keep coming. We can't take him for granted.
No,
he's too good.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't read it before, you read this and then you'll go back. But if you've read it, just keep reading him, if you've read it before. Yeah. And Tom, over your left shoulder, I think it's your left shoulder. That's coming soon, is it not?
It is. It's starting to, books apparently are leaving the warehouse on their way to stores around the country. So it is soon. Not soon enough, if you ask me. But,
I know.
Big Vanity Fair piece last week. I got a taste because they've not shared any of it with us. So I got a taste of the interview. Was fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll go into more Barbara as the weeks go on.
We'll be Barbara for the end of the year, but I love it. So
we all know that she clones her dogs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She goes into that in the Vanity Fair interview a little bit.
I want to know who's gonna bust out into singing Funny Girl when we talk about this.
Oh,
a good karaoke.
Tempt me.
Somebody might bust out on a clear day.
Oh my God, I'm ready to go right now.
People,
you won't be able to stop me when it happens.
Oh, it's going to be a sing-along. It's going to be a Barbra Streisand sing-along.
Oh, we have to.
Yeah, we're going to prep Don't Rain on My Parade.
I love it. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Dee wants to know if all the books are going to your house, Tom. I think they are.
I tried to make that happen, but no, apparently that's not possible.
That's not possible.
I just want one.
He's just going to try and get Barbara somehow to see Barbara.
That's right. We're not far away. And yet we're very far away, but geographically, apparently we're close, but
yeah. Oh, all right, Gabe.
Keep an eye on my mailbox. Keep an eye on my mailbox for that.
Don't hold your breath, Gabe. And if you get it before I do, there could be trouble.
I don't think there's a bigger Barbra Streisand fan than me on the screen right now, but
I don't know. You and Tom have to arm wrestle that one.
I'll bust into a medley, man. That's so Streisand.
You can.
That has to happen. That medley has to happen.
What happened to the medleys?
You can be my Barry. You can be my Barry Gibb, Gabe.
Oh,
Gabe, if you sing her version of Jingle Bells, I will love you forever. That is my favorite song in the world. It's unhinged.
I will brush up on that one.
Ah.
Pick up the lyrics. All right. First book I'm talking about, Conflict by General David Petraeus and Andrew Roberts. And what they're discussing here is the evolution of warfare through the mid 20th century into the 21st century. So we go back, basically the Korean conflict, because that wasn't a war, never declared a war, only a conflict. And the Vietnam War, and we go into the Middle East, and he goes into what happened in Bosnia and Serbia in the 90s. So he works his way through the end of the 40s and the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, into the present and into Putin's disastrous, and they both in agreement, attack on Ukraine, which is hubris, and it is something that the lesson should have been learned. So that's why these books are written. But there's people who just don't understand history and don't read history, and so they bring all this together. It's not a pro-war book. It's not a really right-wing screed of any sort. It really is a brass tacks look at how war has evolved in the last 70 years. And there's a lot of readers for this kind of stuff. Petraeus has the military background, and Andrew Roberts is a historian and a military historian. So he brings in the broader look at the spectrum that they're looking at. But and then they make some, I don't want to say predictions, but there's a conversation of where we're headed and where we may be headed and going in the future. But the importance of history and the importance of learning history so as not to repeat the mistakes that we keep repeating, because we're run by a bunch of bozos sometimes. So that's the book. I think, it's a big, fat, satisfying novel. It's going to get a lot of review attention, obviously. Perfect for, Father's Day. It'll hang on for Father's Day, but definitely for dad or uncle for
dad or uncle at Christmas time or holiday.
Yeah,
holiday
and
time.
It's not just for the military person. There's I think a lot of us started reading history was military history when you were a kid.
Okay, and you learn something every day in tea time. I did not know that the Korean War was not considered a war and was just considered a conflict.
I knew that, but I had forgotten it. So thank you, Gabe.
That's what I'm here to do.
Just educating the masses, Gabe. Just educating the masses.
Teaching people.
There's just so many ways around war, there's just so many ways we've been involved in wars that have not been necessarily wars.
My question, though, and this is something that I will Google later, is why is that? Why would one not consider it a war versus a conflict?
Because they don't have to get congressional approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Save me a Google search. Thank you for that, Julia.
Sure thing.
Okay. What's your next book?
No need for Google, Julie.
No need for Google. We have Julia.
You got the panel here.
My next book is the Global Pantry Cookbook, which is this really fun cookbook that goes ingredient by ingredient and talks about how to use these different ingredients in your cooking. So some of them are ingredients that maybe you use all the time, and some of them are ingredients that maybe you're like if you're like me, I love cooking, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to use that. And this is kind of like a perfect cookbook to start you off on that journey with a bunch of different things like yuzu, tahini, Worcestershire sauce, tahine. It has the Korean gochujang, thank you, and things like that, where I wasn't necessarily raised cooking with these ingredients, but they're super fun to use and they're super fun to experiment with, and this book sort of guides you in that experimentation. Anyway, it's really fun. I have it here and I've been cooking from it, and it's been very, very fun to cook. So a nice little gifty cookbook for the holidays.
Yeah, those strawberry cupcakes or whatever it was you just showed looked pretty darn delicious. Just have to say on that. Okay, yeah. And I love our viewers here because we're going back to the conflict. TV for the win, as Dee says, because she watched MASH.
Yeah, everything I know about the Korean conflict came from MASH.
So TV for the win on that.
For sure.
I love it. All right, Tom, what do you got?
Okay. I hesitate to call this book fun, but it is fun. Hitchcock's Blondes.
Oh, that's fun.
So Lawrence Leamer, author of Capote's Women, same kind of format here. So the reason I hesitate to call it fun reading is because it's painful to read the sadomasochism of Hitchcock, and his blonde and what he did to the blondes. But just like he did in Capote's Women, Leamer here is, in this case, it's all the biggest stars: Ingrid Bergman, Grace Kelly, Janet Leigh, Kim Novak, Eva Marie Saint, and most famously and horrifically, Tippi Hedren. We remember the birds. So he's giving them, again, he's telling the story of Hitchcock through their relationship and what he did to them, but he's giving them voice, which in Hitchcock biographies they've not been really fully formed characters. So it's film history, it's film criticism, it's biography of both the women, and you can't help it, of Hitchcock. So Leamer's books he's just made to do these kind of fun books about Hollywood, and they're gossipy, they are Vanity Fair, like old-fashioned, old-time Vanity Fair. That's who he is, and I kind of love them. So Hitchcock's Blondes, out. I think it's out tomorrow. Be a great holiday gift.
So is it kind of like, when Joyce Maynard wrote about J.D. Salinger, that was just this that nobody wanted to hear anything bad about J.D. Salinger. Is that the same thing with Hitchcock? Is everybody afraid to talk about?
Pretty well known. I think people enjoy talking now about how horrible Hitchcock was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, he was terrible.
Yeah. So there's no secret about it, but now he's putting all the secrets together into one book.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I love those. It's just like you said, fun but not fun.
I know. It's painful, but yet you can't stop turning the pages.
Yeah. All right, Gabe.
There's always room for a good Hollywood book.
That's right. Hollywood is made of these people, unfortunately.
Really.
Yeah. Well, did Hollywood make them?
No, they made Hollywood. Ooh, write that down. God, the wisdom is just spotting, man.
I am just like, we might have to go off air right now.
I'm glad this is getting recorded for posterity.
Too much. It's too much.
Oof, I'm going to tone it down. I'm going to take it down. But I got these books. Okay, so The Christmas Guest, Peter Swanson. I'm a big fan of Peter Swanson's. He writes a really good mystery. His first two novels, The Girl with the Clock for a Heart, and of course, I can't remember the wordy second title, but they're really terrific noir novels, like, James M. Cain status, the femme fatale, the dude that's a sucker for the girl, falls for everything. And as terrific as noir is, and as many fans as it has, it's not the most popular genre. So if you want to get a wider readership, you got to move around. So it took a book or two for Peter to find his level. We steered him away from noir, I think, editorial decision, and because he's a really good writer, and those books are dynamite. They will not disappoint any reader. But he's got a much broader readership with the last few books he's done. I will confess, I read a ton of mysteries, and I'm not a huge fan of mysteries in the short form outside of my Sherlock Holmes, which I grew up with. So I don't usually buy into like the small novellas and things. But I was on an airplane. I was coming back from a trade show in Denver, and there was one of these on the table. And I like Peter Swanson, and I just needed to get away. And I picked it up. It's 112 pages, and it's an immersive little novella. Not a huge mystery necessarily, but he just sucked me into the world that he created. And I was with him. It was, I picked it up sort of mid-flight and finished it sort of mid-flight. But it took me where I wanted to go. So the mystery is we have our young protagonist, Ashley Smith, She's an art student in London. Between her junior and senior year, and she's invited to this very one of her friends, Emma Chapman, invites her to their something Spectreville Hall or something like that. So it's their, the family residence for the holiday vacations. And she wasn't sure that Emma considered her friend because she had kind of accidentally snuck off with a fella that she said she liked, and she stuck off with him one night, and Emma took notice. It's kind of a surprise for her to come. So there's murder at the Old Manor House, and what goes on and how it happens. I won't say too much about it, but it took, like I said, it did what I needed it to do for me. So I really enjoyed it. I way more than I thought I was gonna. And it's not, it's not going to change the world. It's not going to do anything like that, but it was just exactly what I needed. And I think there'll be a lot of people. It's a nice little stocking stuffer, a nice little book you can get passed around at the holidays.
Well, and Beth Doherty's on here saying, is there any better world in which to become immersed in than the Cotswolds at Christmas?
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I picked it up. I just needed to be somewhere.
Yep. And then Dee's all warm sweater with sweater, warm drink, and she's all set for this one. And for me, I really do hate mysteries. And I think because they never deliver for me at the end, after giving them 350 pages or whatever ungodly amount. So this might be just the right thing for me. Like 112 pages, boom, it's quick.
If the ending doesn't do it for you, it's only 112 pages.
It's only 120 pages, and I'm like, okay. So I think the novella mystery might be my thing. I think that's a new thing I'm going to try, and I'm going to try this one because, honest to God, after I've given a book 3, I'm just like, God, that was it.
so much learning on Tea Time.
I know, right? Here we go. All right. Speaking of, so we'll go with lightning rounds. We got
lightning round.
We got here quick.
Okay.
With all our jibber jabbering earlier.
Okay, so my lightning round is Everything I Learned in a Chinese Restaurant by Curtis Chin. This is a memoir. This is my favorite memoir of the fall. I absolutely love this memoir. You can see great blurb about Alexander Chee, but this book, Curtis Chin grew up in Detroit in the 80s and 90s. His family owned like the Chinese restaurant, like that everyone went to in Detroit. And he is gay and Chinese American. And so there's a lot of really interesting like stories from his childhood of like sort of discovering what race was and racism, because he's growing up in a mostly Black neighborhood amongst a Chinese population. And so his sort of perspective on race in America comes from a much different place than I think some of us, who grew up in mostly white neighborhoods or in like a much more like Black and white divided kind of area. And so it's really tender and touching in a lot of ways. There's this, my favorite part probably is where his family hires a chef who turns out to be gay, and they kind of, it's like the first time he as a kid sees himself in an adult, and like really like they have this moment and this sort of bonding moment, and the chef is kind of like, it's gonna, like, you're gonna be okay, kid, like it's gonna be all right. And it's just like, it's just this lovely memoir, a lovely coming of age story. Curtis Chin now, he worked on the Biden campaign, reaching out to both the Asian American community and the queer community. And so, he's very politically active and stuff like that, but it really is a memoir of sort of coming of age. It's very tender. It's very lovely. I enjoyed every second of it. I think it's very well done. So
I've been hearing about this one for a long time. Glad it's finally out. I bet this is getting a lot of press. So I think it's going to be one of those that's going to be a good memoir it's going to be one of those going to last for a long time out there. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think you'll really enjoy it. It's great.
All right. Yeah, Beth's saying it's been on her list. It's been on her list. It's finally here. All right, Tom.
All right. So Gabe's book is not going to change the world, but I think maybe my book will. Oh. It's pretty rare to say that, but we'll see. It's called Determined, A Science of Life Without Free Will. So imagine the greatest behavioral scientists of our age, teaches at Stanford, MacArthur Genius Award. He's here to tell us that we don't have free will, like biologically, neurologically. That's just not the case. It's a story we tell ourselves. It's a myth. It's a fantasy. To separate yourself from your biology, like that's what I guess humans have taught themselves to do. But and then it has had consequences when we think that people are doing many things of their own free will when maybe they didn't have that free will. He's the author of Behave, which was also about human behavior. And that became like a science bestseller. It just sells and sells and sells. He's got he teaches at Stanford. He's got a class that just, kids are dying to get into because he's a brilliant scientist, but also a great explainer of his science. Although this is tough to get, at least for me, to get my head around. And if it's true, and probably it's true, what does that mean for society, which he does get into. So he also dabbles a little bit in philosophy, I think. So it has implications for violence in the world and war and criminal justice and all kinds of things. So he's arguing that this should be liberating. It might seem terrifying to think, but it actually should be liberating. So let's engage with Robert Sapolsky. Determined. What do you think, Julie?
No, I'm wondering where religion plays into this and God's will.
Yeah. It plays a role for sure.
Yeah, because I kind of get tired of that thing where it's like, oh, this is God's will. It's just like,
I know. Well, yeah, that's interesting.
I guess I know what I'm talking to my therapist about this week, Tom. Thank you for that.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Did we just trigger everybody into Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that.
No problem. That's why I did that as the lightning round, because I don't ask me too many questions about this because I really can't explain deeply.
Yes, but
you have to read the book.
All right, there you go. Let's see what somebody's commenting on here. Determined sounds like a book group brawl book.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That was hard for me to say.
I love that.
Yeah, I kind of like that, a book group brawl. We have plenty of those in my book.
Those happen anyway, but now you have a book that's determined to have a brawl. Let's do it.
Maybe I'll pick it.
They would really hate you then.
I know. Darn it. All right, Gabe. Wrap us up. You're on mute. We want to hear every word you say. We don't want you to mute. We want every single gem that you have to say to us today.
You know what? I do understand sarcasm.
Oh, these are so good.
Yeah, I feel a little lazy today. I did the Peter Swanson and I did the Petraeus, and now I'm doing these. But you know what? These are just a great.
They really are.
Entertainment. They are. You're gonna laugh. Your mind's gonna grow. Your point of view is gonna grow. You'll be a better person. I just love. I don't like mysteries in the short form for some reason, but I do like the short form in essays and short stories. And it's a really well written essay is a terrific read. And this is what we have. We've got a great collection of editors. So we've got Science and Nature, very sciencey essays, which are all across the board, edited by Vivian Gornick. Mystery and Suspense, so short form mysteries, edited by Lisa Unger, and The Best of American Food Writing, Mark Bittman editing, and Rebecca Kwong doing our Best American Science Fiction Fantasy, and Min Jin Levy short stories. So always fun. They'll go on sale tomorrow. They'll be on display everywhere. And if you've never tried these, pick them up. They're just you can pick up. I mean, anyone. Pick up science. You're gonna enjoy it. Even if you're not a science person, great way to read some short science fiction and fantasy, food writings. There's a lot of really great food writing out there. There's just a lot of writings outside of the literary genre out there that are just a lot of fun to read. So we provide you that opportunity.
And I just want to thank you, Gabe, for being that I'm doing tech today, that I was expected to put 5 of those into the chat.
Yes.
It did not happen. I'm just letting you know.
Just put like the best short stories is the best seller.
I did the mysteries just to remind everybody that that's there. And so you can do that. Because I sat there and looked at that and went, oh, no.
No way.
I'm not going to be able to do this.
But this series been going for many decades, right? Like, I feel like as a kid, I know there was also the O. Henry's show, like best of the year stories, but
well, Tom, I don't know if it's that old.
I know, that's what I'm wondering. It's not, but Gabe, back me up here. Come on, help me out.
I don't know, honestly, because they came over with Hachette. So it's not something that we wait a minute.
It was Houghton Mifflin.
They came over with not Hachette. I'm sorry, HMH. The H's, Harper, Hachette.
I just feel like they've been there for a really long time.
They've been there a long time.
Maybe not since I was a kid. But
you're not that old, so possibly.
Thank you, Gabe.
It's one of those.
Does he owe you something?
Looking for that Barbra Streisand book.
Yes, I do owe him something.
Oh my God.
No, you know what? I think there's I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh. Yeah, but they've been around.
What's that?
Too much going on in your brain.
Too much going on in your brain.
Barbara distracted you.
But yeah, though the somebody discovered these because of Tea Time last year. So there you go. And they're really good. I mean, and they're honestly a good, like you were talking earlier about the novella by Swanson being a stocking stuffer. I mean, this is one of those things that if you don't know, these are good little stocking stuffers too.
Now, I don't know if we can trust Wikipedia, but I'll trust it here. I remember reading the very first one of these in 1915. It goes way back to 1915. So they
have been around our whole lives.
And going around for a long time.
And I'm assuming you remember that, Tom? You do remember that, Tom.
Yeah, I do. They were just not marketed. They were like in libraries, I think. I got them in libraries.
Okay.
Now they're in every store and in big displays. And at that time, they just did stories. They didn't do food writing, sports.
So it's got to precede the O. Henry Awards and the push carts.
Yeah, that's right.
I do like that Min Jin Lee is editing the short stories when her most famous book is like.
Is that great?
That's a good. I think it's a good.
Spot on. That's spot on. But I also like we're going to circle back around to Barbara Kingsolver because I'm just going to circle around to Barbara Kingsolver again. Right. But I love when she brought up how would Dickens when he was writing the serials and how you had to wait for the next week. And I don't know in today's world if that could happen again because of like just everything's immediate right now. But I sort of like that anticipatory thing.
Julie,
the Tales of the City, the Armistead Maupins originally he wrote them in the Chronicle, and then they went into book form. As early paperback originals in that era, back in like the 70s. So that was the last.
What are you going to tell me, Julia? Are you going to slap me down? Julia's
not at all. I'm going to tell you that this is literally.
Slap her down. Come on, Julia.
No, this is literally what my college degree is in. It's Victorian literature and specifically Dickens. And so what I wrote an entire thesis on was it's television. That's what it is now.
Oh,
it's just the serialized version. Yeah. It's network television.
Yeah, you're right.
Again.
But the word part. Okay, so Barbara's on here. So I think some of these books are yours. She said, love the following: The Patron Saint of Second Chances, not sure whose that is. Bad Summer People, which is one that I recommended, which I absolutely loved. The Postcard, which is Andrea's, which I loved as well. The Lioness of Boston. And Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice. So those are some good ones that and Beth loves the Patron Saint of Second Chances as well, and the Unsolicited Advice. So we got lots of good readers out there. Thanks, everybody. Love it that everybody's doing it. All right. So do we have time change next week? Is it next week or the week after?
The week after, I think.
Week after?
November,
after Halloween, I guess now. Used to be before Halloween. Now I think it's after Halloween. So, God, it's only in the middle of October. For some reason, it feels like this year went really quick, and now all of a sudden it just seems like it's dragging.
Yeah, I have the same sense. I don't know why that is.
I don't know why that is either. But anyway, so lots of good books. I'll give you my update on The Glutton next week, but we are hosting her for a virtual event in November that I think is going to be fascinating, because how she wrote this and about this, I'm dying to find out about. So anyways, everybody, happy reading, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye. Let's stop that.